Hey Gamermancy fans, Neverlin here with another pro battle report for you. Today I'm taking on that guy in our farewell to 5th edition. This is a 1500 point battle with that guy bringing his Gray Knights to the field, taking on my Blood Scorpions. We'll be starting this game off with a standard spearhead deployment. That guy won the role to go first and elected to do so. He packed Mordrak, a Librarian and Terminator armor, 3 Ghost Knights, and a Dreadnought into his Storm Raven, and then on the ground he has a 10-man Gray Knight squad armed with 2 Psy Cannons. I've deployed my 3 Devastator squads with their usual 2 rocket, 1 las, and 1 plasma cannon makeup. Spread out on the 3 floors of the ruined building, they have a Sanguinary Priest backing them up as well. Deployed behind the ruin is a 7-man Terminator squad with 3 Chain Fists and a Cyclone missile launcher. As for reserves, that guy has another 10-man Gray Knight squad with Psy Cannons and a Rhino, while I'll be jumping in a pair of 5-man assault squads led by Azeroth. For our last game of 5th edition, we want to do something a little different, so we went with the rules of engagement for our mission selection. The Blood Scorpions rolled Capturing Control, meaning I'm going for table quarters this time, and that guy rolled Phase Out, which means he needs to take me down to 11 models or less. As for tactics and strategy, I'm picturing him trying to rush me in my ruined building there, and so I'm going to try to drop my assault squads behind enemy lines to take those quarters from him. We'll see how that goes. See you at the first round. Gray Knight's turn 1. Well, that guy advanced his Storm Raven and the Rhino up a little further to get within range, while the Librarian cast the Shrouding. The shooting phase saw the Storm Raven open up with everything it had on the Devastator squad at the top there. All the Mind Strike missiles, Typhoon missiles, the assault cannons. But even after about 14 wounds, the Blood Scorpions made all their cover saves, or armor saves, feel no pain. Whatever save they had to make, they made. So, relieved, we move into the Scorpion turn. Bottom of the first. Well, the Terminators moved over to get a bit of a shot there at the Storm Raven. And I guess you can say turnaround is fair play, because the Devastators unloaded on that Storm Raven and only came up with 2 stun results, which resulted in stuns and nothing much. We'll see what happens next round. That guy kicked off turn 2 by deploying his Grey Hunters out of reserve on my flank, and the Grey Hunter on the other side of the board climbed down from the ruins to get in range. I got a big break when the Storm Raven failed its Fortitude psychic power, meaning it could not ignore the stun result and simply had to sit there all turn. In the shooting phase, the Grey Hunters targeted the Devastators up there on the ruins and were able to shoot 4 of them out of the battlements with their Storm Bolters and Psy Cannons. The Blood Scorpions kicked off the second turn by deep striking both assault squads behind enemy lines, while the Terminators advanced on the Rhino to deal with that threat. In the shooting phase, the Devastators opened up on the Storm Raven, immobilizing it, while the other squad of Devastators came up big by wiping out the entire combat squad of Grey Knights hiding out in the ruins. The assault phase came out as pretty much predicted, with the Terminators cracking open the Rhino with their whirlwind of chain fists. On to turn 3. Top of the third. Well, that guy deployed that big Terminator squad with Mordrak and the Dreadnought out of his burning Storm Raven and marched them down towards the assault squads. In the Blood Scorpion backline, the Grey Knights backed a bit off their Rhino a few steps for a better field of fire up on those Devastators. The shooting phase was extremely successful for that guy. His Terminators, Dreadnought, and Storm Raven all ripped into both of my assault squads, killing 3 assault marines in each of those units. While the Gray Knights poured more Storm Bolter and Psy Cannon fire into the Devastators, taking them down 2 more. The assault phase saw the Dreadnought coming up short in his attempt to assault through the crater. Let's see what the Blood Scorpions can do. Bottom of the third, the Terminators advanced on the Gray Knights while Azeroth and his assault squads limped over to take on Mordrak and his unit of Terminators. In the shooting phase, the Terminators and the Devastators softened up the Knights by killing 3 of them in the shooting phase. The other Devastators took some pot shots at Mordrak, putting a single wound on him. Preparing for their big melee in the center of the board, the Assault Marines fired their pistols, plasma pistols and bolt pistols, into the Terminators. It was a little bit successful. They were able to take down one Terminator with a lucky plasma shot. Unfortunately, the other plasma pistol blew up in the Assault Marine's face, killing him instantly. With the shooting phase done, it was time to see if this big gambit in the center was going to pay off as Azeroth waded into melee, doing 4 big wounds and putting another one on Mordrak, resulting in killing 3 of the Terminators. The Librarian suffered a Perils of the Warp and took a wound himself, so this was already looking pretty bad for that guy. The end of the assault phase saw the big hitters doing some pretty good damage. The Mordrak and his Terminators with their hammers killed 3 Assault Marines, but not before the Power Fist Sergeant from the Blood Scorpions took out another Terminator. The Gray Knights lost this assault by 3 wounds and failed their leadership. Unable to escape, they took 3 overwhelming wounds and failed the last 2 armor saves. It was a pretty sad day for rolling for that guy, unfortunately, and fate was not with Mordrak. Turning our attention to the melee at the other end of the table, the Gray Knights killed a pair of Blood Scorpion Terminators, but suffered 4 wounds themselves. While they pass their leadership, a very surprised guy starts his turn 4, wondering what he's going to do. Top of turn 4. Well, that guy pretty much jumped straight into the shooting phase, laying into the Devastators with the Storm Raven and side cannons from the Hatch of the Rhino, killing about 3 of them. The Dreadnought opened up on Azeroth and took him down 1 wound. In the assault phase, the Dreadnought charged Azeroth, killing the Sergeant that was hanging out with him, while Azeroth couldn't do any damage back. At the other end of the board, the Blood Scorpion Terminators finished off 2 more Knights, leaving the last one, who failed his leadership and took off running. Turn 4 for the Scorpions was fairly anemic. The Terminators chased after the retreating Knight and couldn't finish him off as the Gray Knight bobbed and weaved in the rubble. Likewise, the Devastators poured everything they had into the Storm Raven and came up empty. In the assault phase, the Dreadnought and Azeroth flailed away at each other, but couldn't do any damage. Now, as we look going into the 5th turn, each of us control 1 of the table quarters, and so that pretty much leaves me out of luck, while that guy needs to kill 4 more of my models to phase me out. Let's see what happens. Turn 5. The single Gray Knight bravely continued his retreat away from the Terminators, doing all he could to avoid them. The Storm Raven and the Knights in the other Rhino continued lighting up the Devastators, killing 3 more, bringing me to the brink of being phased out. During the assault phase, the Dreadnought finally squished Azeroth. In the Blood Scorpion turn, the Devastators continued their futile attempts to destroy the beached Storm Raven, while the last Assault Marine took bold action in jumping behind the Dreadnought to take a shot at his rear armor and with his plasma pistol, but failed. The Terminators continued to chase down the lone Gray Knight, who evaded all of their efforts to shoot and kill him like a champ. At the end of the 5th turn, the Gray Knights need to kill 2 more of my models for victory, while we are still tied with table quarters. And as another turn is rolled, we're on to the 6th. Top of the 6th. Well, the lone Gray Knight raced towards his back line with the Blood Scorpion Terminators quickly in tow. The Dreadnought spun around and turned his attention to the last Assault Marine, turning him into paste with his assault cannon. Surprisingly, the Storm Raven and the Psy Cannon toting Gray Knights whiffed in their attempt to down one more model as the Blood Scorpion sighed in relief. The bottom of the 6th turn saw the Devastators finally destroying the Storm Raven, while the lone Gray Knight finally met his match as well as he succumbed to a hail of Storm Bolter fire. With no way for me to win at this point, I cringed when that guy rolled yet another turn, with one more chance to kill a single model of mine for the win. Let's see if he can do it. Last turn. Well, with nothing left to decide, we'll take you now to the last turn to see if that guy can finish off one more model with his Psy Cannon Marines.
Yeah. 8 Psy Cannon shots into the 6 slot.
That damn Storm Raven.
You literally got 6 lives. 1 rend, 2 regular wounds.
1 rand, 2 regular wounds. 1 rand on where's my green dice?
Yeah. I mean, you really have to fail this round. No. Storm Bolter.
Alright, well this left a great game in another draw here at Gamermancy. I had a great time with this game. I think if I were to do anything differently, I would have used a lot less firepower on that Storm Raven trying to take it out. It was just blowing my mind that I could not take it down for good, and I think I would have directed a little more firepower at that Rhino with the Psy Cannon Gray Knights in it. I would have had a much better shot at taking them out and ending that firepower. But again, great game. Great to play with that guy. It's always a challenge going against the Gray Knights. We'll see you in the next one.